All right, we're live.
Okay, hey, welcome back. This is another edition of Radio 22's Talk 22, hosted by me, your boy, Mr. to the Jizzle. And we are here bringing you the topics and the conversations that you want to talk about, and we bring it to you with nothing but the real. And I appreciate everybody that came through, listen to our conversation that we had last time. We had a nice spirited conversation. I appreciate everybody that tuned in and listened up to what we had to say about that. That was real appreciated. And we had a lot of good feedback, a lot of good conversation from those who text in, and we appreciate your comments. But we're gonna move forward, and this one hurts me, y'all. This one hurts me a lot. I gotta bring it up. I know it's in the past, and I should leave it in the past, but it still hurts. What we're talking about today is my Milwaukee Bucks and the collapse of the Bucks. It hurts, y'all. It still hurts. I know some of y'all seen it. Some of y'all watching right now as the Celtics take on Miami Heat. That's supposed to be us up there, y'all. Y'all know it. But, we're going to still bring that conversation because it needs to be talked about. So here it is. But today I have a panel of Milwaukee Bucks fans, some of the number one fans I know out here that definitely know about the team and definitely know about how things have been going. So I want to introduce you today to my panel. I got out of the Madison area, I got David. David is on the line. David, can you please say hello to the people? Yeah, please unmute your mic.
Hello, guys.
Thank you for coming, David. Thank you for coming. Also on the line, I got my homegirl, Dana. Dana, can you say what's up to the people?
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for coming, Dana. Also on the line, I got the homeboy, Gavin. Gavin, please say hello to the people.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
Thank you for tuning in and being with us today, Gavin. Appreciate that. But yeah, we're going to just jump right into it, y'all, because I don't know how else to do this, so we're gonna just say it. Are the Bucks just a regular season type of team, or are they actually a championship type team? This is the second year now I feel like we've seen this, where they gone and had the aspirations of championship goals, and it's just like falling short. So I need to know. I'm gonna start with ladies first. I'm gonna start with you, Dana. Is the Bucks just a regular season team, or is this a championship team?
I think they have the potential to be a championship team. But right now, with the way that we're running our offensive plays, a 10 to 12 man roster instead of what other teams do with like an 8 to 9 man roster. So we're not getting that flow, that chemistry with the team. That's one of the big things I see going wrong with us. And also the minutes restrictions. Like, why are we restricting Chris Middleton to 38 minutes? Why are we restricting Giannis to 39 minutes when Jimmy Butler's playing 45 and their top players are playing over 40 minutes? You can't win in the postseason if you don't have your best players on the team.
That's true. I mean, if your best players aren't on the floor, well, what are we paying them for? Gavin, we're going to come up to you next. Is this a championship team, or is this just a regular season type team?
I mean, at this point, I think we got to call them a regular season team.
Wow.
Okay. But I think that can change though. You look at LeBron, Jordan; those guys didn't win their first title, so they're 27. Giannis is still 25.
Okay.
I think he's ahead of the curve at this point. You just got to build the team around him and improve those pieces around him to get to that point.
Okay, no doubt. All right, David, let us know your thoughts on this. Is the Bucks a playoff team? Are they a championship team, or are they just a regular season type of team?
I kind of agree with Gavin. I think it's still a regular season team because they got a lot of pieces they're missing. They're not a championship team yet. They're probably a couple players away.
Okay. All right. I appreciate your thoughts on that. And I'm gonna come right back to you on that one, David.
Okay.
Are there any players on the Bucks that you would build a team around? Like you said that we're a couple pieces away.
Yeah.
Like what are you thinking as far as a team? Where do we start?
Obviously, we'll keep Giannis. That's a person you build around. And then I also think Militant is not a second piece. He's a third. So we need another
Okay.
playmaker to come in there and to be able to help out Giannis to make Giannis' game easier.
Okay. Would you say a big or would you say a guard?
I will say a guard. A guard, a guy who can create, who can take the
Okay.
ball away from Giannis instead of just Giannis running all the way down and trying to score on everybody. So you need somebody to make it easy for him. Like a point guard. We need a point guard, a playmaker.
A playmaker. Okay. All right. Going to you, Gavin. Do you agree? Like, are there pieces on this team that we need to stick with and build around, or do we just scrap this whole team and just say, let's start fresh?
I mean, yeah, I agree with David. It all starts with Giannis, right? We got to offer him the supermax contract this offseason, and really at that point, the other pieces are gonna fall after he makes a decision on if he's gonna accept that. Management's already decided that Middleton's getting paid number 2 money, even though we all want him to be the number 3. So he's got a huge contract. Guy like Lopez, I don't know if you can, in the Bucks system, that you can improve upon that number 5, very much. But I think, you keep a guy like Dante DiVincenzo around while he's on a small rookie contract for the next 2 years.
Okay.
But I think that number 1, number 2 spot is where that starting 5 needs to get upgraded. That Wesley Matthews, that Bledsoe spot needs to get upgraded.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
Calling out names. Okay. Dana, we're gonna give you opportunity to speak on it too. Is there pieces on the Bucks that is valuable? I mean, we didn't see a lot of great play against the Heat.
No.
On anybody. So are there pieces here that we can still use and build upon, or do we just need to start fresh?
I agree with both Gavin and David with Giannis and Middleton, obviously. But a lot of people sleep on Dante, and I do agree that with that 2-year rookie contract, we need to keep him, especially if Bledsoe is someone who we're going to start to go away from. We're going to need someone to run the point. Hopefully we can get a good 2 guard. That's what I'm hoping for. But for now, yeah, those are my 3 pieces that I want to keep. I think Lopez is up there in age. Wesley Matthews is getting a little older, 33, even though he did play really good defense in that last game. So those are my 3 people that I want to build around.
Okay. Now, Dana, David said a playmaker penetrator. Would you say that you agree with that, or are we looking for shooting? Are we looking for defense?
I am looking for a playmaker for sure. Someone who can play off the ball and on the ball, who can be creative, off the dribble.
So the Heat get the stop.
Okay. Would you also agree with that, Gavin? Or are you looking for what are you looking for in position?
Yeah, at this point, Giannis was forced into a very ball-centric role, and since he's not a shooter, that's how he's always going to be. He's going to be a ball-centric player. So like Dana was saying, you need someone that you're going to be able to kick the ball to that can shoot it, but at the same time, they're not going to be open for the shot if they can't drive it to the hoop and slash to the hoop and cut. Their guys just going to be all over them. So like in the last 3 years, we've always talked about every offseason, we need shooters. We've got some shooters now, but we need shooters with a little different skill set. Kyle Korver just sitting outside, he's not a threat to drive to the hole. He's good at what he does, but we need someone that's got a little more ball skills.
That's funny. That sounds a lot like Brogdon, who we just traded away. But we're gonna move on. Okay. So all 3 of you kind of mentioned that Giannis is one of the key pieces that you would feel like the Bucks it's a must keep, a must do as far as locking in. I'm gonna go ahead and start with you, Gavin. Is Giannis a top 5 player in the league today, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think he is. I would put him top 3.
Top 3.
Yeah, and if you would force me into putting who I'd put up there with him is Lillard and Kawhi. You look at those 3 guys.
You forgot about the King?
They don't have the pieces around them like some of the other guys in the leagues. They don't have Anthony Davis. They don't have all these other guys that are elevating their game. So those are the top 3 players in the league right now.
Wow. Okay. You're entitled to your opinion. Also, if you guys agree out there, please leave your comments where they need to be. If you disagree with Gavin, please let us know. I'm gonna go to you. I'm gonna go to you next, David. Is Giannis a top 5 player, or I mean, we saw him before the injury, and we saw him in the bubble, and I can't say I really saw a greatness from him in the bubble. This season I saw greatness from him, but in the bubble it's like he kind of went away. In your opinion, David, is Giannis a top 5 player?
Yes, yeah, Giannis is a top 5 player, maybe a regular season player.
What do you mean by a regular season player?
Because if you're a top 5 player, you should still be in the playoff right now. But I understand that you got hurt. But so answer your question there, I will say he's a top 5. He's a top 5 player.
Okay. Are there players that you would say that you would put in above him?
Yeah. I put LeBron number 1 above him. And I'll put even Kawhi 2. And then Giannis is right there, top 5.
Okay.
I can throw him in the 3 or 4 or 5. He's top 5.
Somewhere in there?
Yep.
Okay.
But he's not,
All right.
He's top 5.
All right. Dana, I'm going to give you the opportunity to answer that one. You know, when we looked at the playoffs and we looked at the bubble, Giannis the 3-point shooting really wasn't what you all think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
He was hacking many times in foul trouble, dribbling the ball off his foot and all kind of stuff. He just was not that special in a lot of people's opinion. Are we looking at Giannis as a top 5 player in the league at this time?
I do think he's a player. I think the criticism on his perimeter game is accurate. He needs to develop a mid-range jumper. He needs to improve on his 3-point shooting. And his free throw percentage is atrocious, 58% in the playoffs. Like, I want to call him a top 5, obviously, but you got to be better at your free throws because you're going to be on the line a lot if you're the best player on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I didn't even mention the free throw shooting, but yes, the free throw shooting was very subpar. I mean, but we've seen great players be subpar from the line and still be great. Players like Shaquille O'Neal, which he is a lot of times equated to, but
I think Shaq had better footwork than Giannis, and Giannis needs to work on his footwork in the offseason a lot. And I know that him and Kyle have been working together with his shot. So him and Kyle are really close, and they've been working on his shooting game.
And I know he's worked with Kevin Garnett with the footwork like you're talking about. So, I mean, he has been reaching out to some of the greats to develop his game and get better. Like you guys said, he is still growing and developing. He's not quite there yet, but so all 3 of you guys are still at this point putting him in the top 5 though. So that's very interesting. If you agree, we definitely want to hear from you. I'm hearing from one of our listeners, Quincy, who says he is Shaq, but in search of Kobe. He also says that he believes KD, LeBron, Kawhi, and Steph are in that top 5, and Giannis is somewhere in there too, I guess. So that's what his comments and what he believes. So we thank you, Quincy, for your comments for that. I'm gonna move on to the next question. All right, so if we want to keep Giannis, should we just add the rest of the Antetokounmpo family and just call it a day? We all know he wants to play with his brothers. You know, his brothers are something special, but are they the talents that we need? I'm gonna leave it to you, Dana. I'm gonna start with you.
So this was the one question I was real nervous about because I don't know a lot about the brothers because I only follow the Bucks and the Celtics. So I don't know a lot. I think it would be cool to see brothers on the same team together, but I don't know like their skill set if that is what the Bucks need just because I don't know a lot about them. So that's on me not knowing a lot about them, but I think it would be cool to see a couple brothers on the same team.
Okay. I mean, we saw Thanasis this year. And,
Yeah.
you know, there was a couple games where he could jump out the gym and did a few dunks that kind of dazzled the crowd. But, you know, he spent most of the time rooting and cheerleading on the bench. I mean, he was sitting in the stands just like myself. So, you know, we're going to say, Gavin, do you believe that we should just sign the rest of the Antetokounmpo family? Or what's the play there?
No, I think Kevin Thanasis is the last man on the bench or second to last man on the bench is all right. You know, his other brothers haven't really cracked in. You know, I think getting some time here and there with the Knicks, the Lakers, the Mavs. But at this point, they seem more like G League plus players to me. And I think Giannis is smart enough to know that that just a team with all his brothers isn't gonna get us any further than we've already been. So.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna ask you, Davi. I mean, this is some talented African family here, by way of Greece, that basically came in, and they all are talented and all have height and length, but are we gonna say all of them to make Giannis happy and bring him back are worthy to be on the Bucks roster?
That's not the way you go win a championship. If you need a cheerleader, yes. But if we're trying to win a championship, I don't think I agree with the rest of the panel there. You know, they could be on the G League or be farther to the bench. But as far as winning the championship, I don't think two of his brother can really help us win the championship as far as what we're looking for on the floor. As far as in the locker room, we can have that cheerleader in the locker room, you know, on the bench. It's good to have that, you know, sometime. But I think for us, no, we can't win a championship with his brother being on the team. No, not what I have seen.
Okay. Shout out to one of our listeners, Rob Dees, that says we need to trade DJ Wilson for Kostas Antetokounmpo. So, you know, he has faith in one of the younger brothers, I guess. So, you know, Wilson also, unfortunately, was a top draft pick of the Bucks, and we just haven't seen all that much out of him either. He didn't play out. I mean, he was top player for the University of Michigan and just has not panned out in the NBA in the way that we kind of thought. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next question. What players would you trade away from the Bucks per playoff performance? I'm gonna start with you, Dana.
I think the popular choice is Eric Bledsoe, just because I think he averaged 13 points in the series against Miami. He wasn't really an offensive juggernaut or really helped the team out very much. So I think that's the popular opinion. I would start looking at Lopez too. Just the center in the league is changing. He does average about 18 points, 19 points a game. So like point wise, he's good, but I don't know. I would say Bledsoe is the first person I would trade away.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Bledsoe did just sign a nice contract with the Bucks just maybe a year ago, and
it'd be a hard trade.
Yeah, so you definitely got to be making the value of your pay, And I don't know if we saw that in this playoff or we even seen that in the bubble from him. So, David, I'm going to go to you next. What players from the current Bucks roster after this playoff performance that you've seen, in your opinion, would be on the chopping block?
Definitely Bledsoe for sure. He should have been gone a long time ago.
Oh,
Okay. Beginning of the season, because he's the piece that I think we need to trade because we have to improve that backcourt. So I think definitely Bledsoe. And also, I agree with Dana, Lopez also, because he's getting older. And then the game is changing. So we can move him too. But since he's old, I don't know who's going to take him. Somebody will for his leadership, for his experience in the NBA. But definitely for sure, Bledsoe.
Okay. Experience was one of the things that they talked about as far as the Bucks. They really didn't have any players that even made it to the championships before to be able to even give that kind of experience level on the Bucks. That is one thing that they definitely talked about in the media. Gavin, we're going to you next. What players, in your opinion, are on the chopping block from what you see? I mean, if you ask me, I didn't see too much from anybody, including Giannis. So, I mean, what players would you say is on the chopping block?
Yeah, so I think you got to look at their performance and then who's got a tradable contract.
Right.
Bledsoe coming up with 2 years left on his deal. Lopez has 3 more. I just don't think you can get rid of both of those guys. You're talking 2 all-NBA second-team defenders. We've got those 2 and Giannis up making the all-NBA team defensive team. I think Bledsoe is his contract, I think, is tradable. Lopez is too, but I just don't know if there's going to be that defensive upgrade that can shoot the 3 like we need, from the 5 position like Lopez.
Oh, so y'all want to trade away Lopez, but you're going to keep his brother? That's wild. Okay. But
play.
Can I get on it?
Yeah, go ahead.
His brother don't play, so that's why we did not mention it. His brother
he didn't play.
Really
he didn't play much in the bubble. I agree with that. But I mean, maybe that's a problem. Like Dana said, there wasn't much of a bench to go to.
That's true.
Where some of these deeper teams have a lot of people that they can call upon to go far into the playoffs.
Yeah, and we also need what Miami has. Tough. We need those tough players. We saw that, especially when Giannis did not play, it showed us that we far away. We far away more than what we think.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Robin get some minutes guarding Bam in those games there. He's a tougher guy. Bam does do a little face-up mid-range stuff, but Robin's kind of that bruiser like his brother's not. So I think a couple, 10, 12 minutes of defense, just send Robin out there to bruise him up a little bit, I think would have helped.
Okay. That's fair.
Fair enough point. I appreciate all y'all for that. Okay, so I'm going to get to the meat of it now. I think we passed the blame around the roster pretty thick, but I need to ask, what part of this loss should Coach Bud play? I mean, in your opinion, he has been known as Coach of the Year and all that other stuff as far as having the best record in this season, we do got to give him his props for that. But I mean, do we look at it, is that really just having one of the top 5 players, like you guys said, or is that really his coaching? A lot of times people wondered about that with Coach Jackson with the Bulls and the Lakers. But at the same time, I mean, by doing it with both the Bulls and the Lakers, I think he kind of showed what he can do. But Gavin, we're going to start with you. What part of this do we have to blame Coach Bud?
So I think I'll give him 39% of the blame, which is higher than anyone else that I would give the blame to. But I don't think it's enough to want to move on from him. I think the team's focus was lost in the bubble. I think a lot of teams struggled with that, though. You saw teams like Phoenix come into the bubble and win 7-8 games in a row that were super focused, and a lot of the better teams had kind of lost that focus. Coach Bud's a Popovich prodigy. We all know that Popovich is one of the best coaches in the league. I think it's really hard to upgrade over Coach Bud, especially for a city like Milwaukee, where there's a lot of players, coaches that might not want to come and sign a big contract there. So, Unfortunately, I think they should.
Okay, fair enough. Milwaukee's not a big market team. Sure enough, we can all agree upon that. But Dana, I'm gonna give you opportunity to speak on this. I mean, we look at it. There's a lot of people that would love a coaching opportunity. There's coaches like Coach Kidd that would like another shot at it. There's Tyronn Lue that wants some help coaching. There's a lot of coaches out there that, Coach Mark Jackson would like another shot at coaching. How much of this blame do we have to put on Coach Bud?
I think he gets a lot of the blame, but I don't think it, like Gavin said, it doesn't warrant him to be fired. It doesn't warrant him to lose his job. I think there's a lot of roster issues first that need to be addressed, and then going forward after that, we look and see what he can do with the team that we get next year. But I think a lot of the defensive schemes he could have done a little bit better on. It didn't seem like he really had a plan for Miami. It just seemed like it was a regular defensive game in the regular season. There was no adjustments, that kind of thing is what I was seeing. So I think he gets one more year.
You give him one more pass, huh?
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, David, I'm gonna go to you next. I mean, the way I'm looking at it is I watched the game, right? And I didn't see, I give some of these other coaches the same kind of nod where I'm like, okay, if I'm not seeing like a lot of adjustments, then I don't know if you're really doing your job as a coach. If they bang you down low, you got to kind of do something about that. If they shooting threes on you all day, okay, now you got to adjust. Maybe you were cramping the lane, but now you got to come out and guard somebody. In your opinion, David, does this coach deserve to be fired? I mean, sometimes we look at it, some other, especially African-American coaches, they might only get one shot at this. And if they came up with this type of failure where you're a number one seeded team, and you go out like that, that's it, Jack. You're not getting another shot. So, should we give Bud, does he get a pass?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. With
Okay.
Bud, I feel like this is last year. We'll give him one more year. And the reason why I said that, because this going to be his third year. And we should not be bouncing out, losing in the second round. Or also another thing, he don't adjust. I noticed that, like you said earlier, when people are banging somebody down low, he don't want to adjust. He want to play the same scheme as regular season. You have to adapt every game. That's what the playoff is all about. And I feel like he struggled with that. And I also agree with Gavin what he said. He came from Popovich trees, so he don't want to adapt. That's where he don't want to change. And then if you look at it, we take it farther back, when he was in Atlanta, he had good regular season. Then he got bounced out with the Cleveland. He got swept.
Sure did.
So for me, I feel like this year is his last year. Otherwise, we got to move on from him. That's my opinion, because I feel like we could do better. I like him as a great coach. There's a lot of other coaches out there. If they lose 1 year, like you said earlier, you alluded to earlier, they'll be out of there. So I feel like, okay, the bubble effect a little bit, but everybody else are still playing. Why you did not get your players' mindset right? And then, so I feel like this is last year. Next year, if you don't do well, I think it's time to part away with him.
Let me ask you something now, David. Would they give Tyronn Lue one more year?
No, they won't. That's what I'm saying. But again, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. But again, like I said, he's a good coach. But I'm starting to wonder. It could just be a regular season coach. That's why I give him one more year. He's out.
Okay.
We can't waste too much chance to win the championship.
This is very true. This is the time.
Giannis is
Shout
out of
out
there.
to, we appreciate that for you, David. Shout out to one of our listeners who said we need to hire Sam Cassell. Shout out to Sam Cassell, one of the Bucks all-time Hall of Fame players there for the Bucks. We're gonna go on, move on. So basically, you guys are stating that you don't think it's time to fire Coach Bud, but I want to ask: is there any tangible trades that you see out there for players that we should keep our eye on to try to pick up? I'm gonna move back to you, David. Who out there in the NBA should we try to look to add to the NBA roster? We know there's been some talk to add Chris Paul. There's also been some other players out there that I've heard mentioned. But who would you like to see in the NBA come to the Bucks?
I kind of like that Chris Paul talk. I like the Chris Paul talk just because we need a leader on the floor when things get tight, when Giannis is on the bench, somebody can run like we were talking about earlier, because I saw a lot from Chris Paul. He's still got a few years left under his belt where he can run a team like us, and especially what he did with Oklahoma with less talent. I feel like if he came to the Bucks, it just depends what we go give up. But I think I would like Chris Paul. As of right now, what I'm hearing, I kind of like that. If we can bring Chris Paul, it can help us a lot.
Okay. Dana, I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak on it. Like you said, we've heard Chris Paul talk. I've heard some other players out there like a Devin Booker. I've heard even trying to bring in a player like who else? There's a lot of other players out there that they've talked about getting. Who would you like to see on the roster?
I would like to see Bradley Beal come over. He's a two-guard. Good compliment, I think, to Giannis and Middleton. He is a good individual defender, which if we lose Bledsoe, we do need some defense on the floor. And he's creative on the playmaking. So I'd like to see Bradley Beal. The other one I was thinking, it's going to be a little harder because he's going to be in hot pursuit. Zach LaVine from the Bulls. I would like to see him come over.
Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty interesting.
He's good at offense off the dribble. He's got good perimeter shooting. I think he'd be a good fit too.
Okay. That's a good player too. Gavin, I've even heard names as big as Steph Curry. Not like I would necessarily see that we're going to be able to draw him over, but I've heard these names. I mean, is there a player that you see out there that the Bucks should try to pursue to add to make this roster a championship roster?
Yeah, I think trades are how a championship team is going to be built. You look at like the 76ers, they tried to build through the draft, and look where it's got them. They just fired their head coach. Everyone's on the Chris Paul train. I don't know if I'm buying that. Bradley Beal, I would definitely put up there. I just don't know if it's swingable, but I think that he would fit really well on the team. So looking at some other players, like if Oklahoma City's going to blow it up, someone like Dennis Schroeder, a younger guy, a really good defender and still improving his perimeter game. Or you look at, the Pelicans where they've got Zion and Ingram as their core, but they're a few years away. So they might be looking to move Drew Holiday, use him to replace Bledsoe, a good point guard, but doesn't maybe necessarily need the ball as much in his hands as Chris Paul does. And then maybe if you're looking at some of the older guys like Conley out here where I live in Salt Lake coming from the Jazz, they might be looking to move him because he just didn't fit their scheme. So,
okay. Gives you a little bit of everything, a little shooting, a little defense.
Huge games, but we got to be realistic with who we think about,
We do got to be realistic, but hey, this is the time, so you got to shoot your shot,
Yep.
And I feel like you got to go for who you can go for. I mean, let them tell you no. So if you can't get, I mean, if it's Steph Curry, you want to go for it, I say go for it. If it's Chris, if it's Chris Paul, go for it. But I feel like we got to try to get something, right? So, all right. Shout out to Rob, who also said that the Bucks need a nasty, crazy attitude player. I could see that. We do need some attitude on the floor. Maybe just some toughness.
You look at Jay Crowder in the last series, man. That's what the Heat had with Jay Crowder. He's that nasty and that attitude, and yeah.
That is definitely true. Somebody who talks the talk and walks the walk. Like the homie Smart from the Celtics, who just is that player for them. Okay, so I appreciate you guys' answers on that. All right, so there's another question now. I gotta come back to Giannis. Should the defensive player of the year have guarded the best scorer on Miami's team when they were lighting us up points? I'm gonna start with you, David. Should the defensive player of the year, I mean, if you're the defensive player of the year, should you not step up and say, hey, Jimmy's making all these points, I got him?
Yes, definitely. That's what the best player should do. I feel like he should have took the challenge, and guard Jimmy. So I definitely agree with that 110%, because if you go consider yourself the best player, the best defense player of the year, show me when it mattered. So
okay.
I think he should have
stepped up and took that. All right. Dana, can he wear that crown of defensive player of the year and not step up and guard the one that's feeding them buckets in a playoff time?
Nope. He should have been guarding Butler. I think back to when I was watching the Celtics and Avery Bradley was guarding LeBron. Paul Pierce was on LeBron. Kobe takes the best player. Like, the best player on your team, your defensive player, is on the best offensive player. Kawhi is a prime example. He is always on their top scorer. So, yeah, he should have taken Butler, no matter what coach said.
I mean, yeah, this is what Giannis said. Giannis said, I am following what coach told me to do. But if you really gonna wear that crown and you want to say that you are the best defensive player or even MVP caliber type player for the season, and your season's on the line where you guys are already down in the playoffs, Gavin, is it not up to you to be that man to say, I know what coach said, y'all, but hey, I got this?
I hear what you guys are saying, but I just don't think his defensive style matches up. He's not built to guard a two guard. If he does, it's going to pull him farther away from the hoop. Bam was already eating up Lopez inside. Giannis needed to play some help D off Crowder. That's why Crowder hit so many threes. I think their offense really all started with Bam Adebayo on the inside, and that's why Jimmy was getting freed up, because people were having to help inside. So, yeah, I do think that your best defender needs to be put on their best player, but I just don't think that this was the matchup to do it. We talk about all those other better defenders, Avery Bradley, Kawhi. Those guys are all smaller guys, and they can hang with Butler. But I just don't think Giannis at 7 feet, 6'11", is gonna have the quickness, and then it pulls him too far away from the hoop to play help D.
Okay, fair enough for that. But I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question at then, Gavin. Was Giannis, in your opinion, then the defensive player of the year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no other team no other team gives up less points in the paint than the Bucks during the regular season, and that's a testament to Giannis playing help D and Lopez guarding their big man. So, I think he does deserve it. Yeah.
So he's deserving of that title. Okay.
Yeah.
Dana, I'm gonna give you a chance to answer that. In your opinion, I mean, with everything that we just stated, is Giannis then deserved the title of Defensive Player of the Year?
For regular season, for sure. Yep. But in the big games, he needs to step up and play like the Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay. All right. That was kind of a side jab, but all right. We'll take that. All right. David, asking you the same exact question. In your opinion, then, is Giannis the Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah. For the regular season, yeah.
And why would you state that?
Why would I say that? Because I did not see too much of great defense on the second part. I mean, with the bubble. So if I had to answer that question as far as regular season, yeah, he was a Defensive Player of the Year in the regular season.
Well, how would you pick him over, let's say, LeBron or somebody else who did pretty well guarding the ball as well?
I mean, I've seen a lot from, I see a lot from LeBron on defense side this year, especially at that age. But I think, go back to the question you asked earlier, but I think, he's a Defensive Player of the Year regular season.
Okay. All right. I think your point is well made. All right. Did the quarantine shutdown hurt the Bucks' momentum? I'm gonna start with you, Dana. In your opinion, did this quarantine affect all of us and shut down the whole economy and everything? Did this hurt the Bucks?
I think it did. I think they were rolling and back in Milwaukee in the regular season. I think when they got down there, they lost focus. There seemed to be something missing chemistry wise. Gavin alluded to it. Like some of the other teams were doing really well. Some of the teams that were expected to do well did lose focus. I think they were 2-6 in the bubble, or 2-5, something like that. And the Lakers had a losing record in the bubble too. Our turnovers in the bubble were up 4 out than they were like pre-quarantine. And we didn't force as many turnovers while we were in the bubble. We forced like 5 less. So I think there was just something missing in the bubble for them, for sure.
Okay. Gavin, when coronavirus hit, it just affected so much, and it just flipped America upside down on its head. But one thing that we had going prior to it was shout out to the Wisconsin Badgers, who were #1 seed for the Big Ten. And we had the NBA leading Milwaukee Bucks that had the best record in the season. Did this coronavirus quarantine life just totally just destroy our season, or what?
Yeah, I think earlier I said I give 39% of the blame to Bud. I give 31% of the blame to the coronavirus, to the bubble. I think different people respond differently. Even watching some of the games, they have like a summer league type feel with no fans. I think that different players can elevate their game with fans, with noise, cheering. The big moments, I think causes some people to elevate their game, and I think that's what the team was lacking. I think that the Bud's lack of adjustments started in the bubble. Lopez was on fire, and we fell in love with the 5 out, no in, and everyone just stood there while one person dribbled around, and then that was pretty much it. We didn't move the ball. So yeah, I blame 30% or 31% of it on the coronavirus.
That's a pretty
bubble.
exact percentage. 31%, not 30, with 31.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate that from you there, Gavin. David. Now, when I look at it, the quarantine hit, and we heard from many of the Bucks that they were trapped in their apartments or their place of residence where they were, and many of them during that time didn't even touch a basketball. They didn't have any court around them. They didn't have any facility to go to. Some of these NBA players have, like, as we know, like courts in their actual house that they can work out in. But I guess Giannis was having a baby for that point. A lot of the players didn't even have access to be able to go to the gym during that quarantine time. Do you feel like that quarantine just totally blew up our team's chemistry and possibility of being a championship squad?
Yeah, it did, but I don't want to use that as an excuse either, though. Just because everybody else were in the same condition as the Bucks, so that tell me that that's when it come with coaching. What are you telling your player to motivate them? What is your assistant doing? You know, the top management, what they're doing as far as, like you said, some player did not have all the equipment, but I know Wesley Matthew has a has a basketball court in his house. So some of those players could have went over there, and it's only down the street in Madison. So I don't. For me, I don't think I just want to blame everything on the quarantine. I agree. We can put percentage. Okay, I understand that it affected a lot of people, but everybody else were in the same condition. So why we could not adjust? So they tell me that we were not ready. You know,
Very true.
if we look at this, the Lakers were in the same situation. They were rolling, and then once they got to the bubble, they struggled, but they picked it up.
That's
So
very true.
why we could not picked it up? So I understand the the corona affect everybody. I get it, like I said earlier, but we should have found a way to adjust like everybody else did. So
You're not
we
giving them
did.
that out, huh? Okay, David.
No,
I
okay,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Another question here is we just see the game just wrapped up. The Miami Heat did win against game one against the Celtics, 117-114 in overtime. But I'm gonna ask, were the Heat just a better team or this year? Or I mean, or did the Bucks really have a chance at winning that? I mean, we lost the first game with them, our first home series game in regular season to Miami, and I think we only beat Miami maybe one time, and that was in the bubble. So I mean, was Miami just a better team this season? I'm gonna start with you, Gavin.
I think Miami was one of the few teams that was tailor-made to beat the Bucks. They weren't. I don't think they maybe built that team with that in mind, but they were built around some of the Bucks' weaknesses. Um, you know, I mentioned Jay Crowder earlier. He was able to defend Giannis probably better than anyone has this season. And they built the wall, the three-man wall in front of Giannis better than any other team had this year on defense. So I think their makeup was just a team that had the skill set to take it to the Bucks. We saw it before the quarantine, we saw it in the regular season, and then we saw it in the playoffs. Pretty bad.
I mean, yeah, they definitely they had some bench players that stepped up and really just showed out this season and this playoff series. Shout out to Goran Dragic that just took it to the Bucks. But Dana, I'm giving you opportunity. Was Miami just a better team, or I mean, were the Bucks really supposed to be the number one seed, or is Miami really that dude?
I think the Bucks were supposed to be the number one seed, but I also agree with Gavin that they were made that way. Like, if you matchups are everything in the playoffs, and they just have a younger, more athletic team that can run the floor, and we have older veterans. We don't have a deep bench. They have one of the deepest benches with their young players, and they just outplayed us.
See, so I
I
think
think
maybe
age has a lot to do with it. When you look up and down the roster, like half of our team are in their early 30s. They're veterans, and this team is young, scrappy, ready to go.
Okay, so man, that's a good point. So maybe age is something that we need to look at while recruiting players. David, I mean, was the Heat just supposed to just take us out or what? I mean, we only beat them one time the whole regular season, even though we did have the best record of the regular season. Is this just a team that just had our number or what?
Yeah, I agree with Gavin that a lot of like Miami were built to beat the Bucks. So we're not a good matchup. They were not. I mean, we're playing with Miami. We struggled even the regular season, even last year and this year, and then the bubble. Obviously, I just feel like they were a bad matchup for us, and they were built to beat us. So I will say they are better than us.
Shout out to one of our listeners that said the Heat just slapped us in the mouth and took our lunch. They deboed us like they deboed us and just said, "Hey, that's my bike, punk." And basically, there was nothing we could do about it. So we do appreciate our listeners who are texting on the chat line. We do appreciate that. And I guess I gotta kind of agree. They did us and like Smokey and just took our stuff and just walked off. Shout out to y'all that know about the movie Friday. Okay, I'm gonna get down to my final question here. Can the Bucks become a championship team? Now we did answer, are they just a regular season team? But I mean more so not what we have now, but for the future. Is this something that we can even achieve? I mean, 2 years in a row, we looked at it and we came close, but no cigar. Is this a team that we feel that can achieve the championship? Is this a championship team, Dana? I'm going to start with you.
I think we can be. I think just like one or two additions to the roster is going to help us go over. And I think Coach Bud's going to go home and really look at himself and say, I should have adjusted better, because he's getting a lot of heat for not adjusting to the offensive schemes the Heat were throwing at us. And I think that's one of the big reasons we're going to be better next year, is Coach is going to adjust the way that he approaches the game too.
Adjustments are key. I know a lot of times that's my dispute against Coach LaFleur of the Packers as well. As when we're winning, we do great, but when we're not winning, the adjustments just isn't there with it. But hopefully these coaches can build themselves up to be better at making adjustments. Gavin, I'm going to go to you next here. When you look at it, are these Bucks even built that we can become a championship team? Is this something that you see for us in the next year or two?
I think it just comes down to if Giannis will sign the Supermax. If he signs it, then you have multiple years to build. If he doesn't, management's going to have to decide, well, if he's only going to be here one more year, do we look to get what we can now, or do we go all in? And then 2021's the 1 year we got a shot. So I think they can be. Giannis has to sign the Supermax. Middleton's got to keep getting better as the number 2 option or number 3. And then you got to upgrade over some of those 4 or 5 options.
Okay. And David, we're going to give you the last word on that. Next year, we see Kevin Durant will be back. Next year, Kyrie Irving will be back. So that means that team will be better. We see the Celtics are getting better every year. Miami, I don't think is going to be too far removed from where they are right now. And I also see a team in Toronto that at any given day can beat anybody. Was this the year for the Bucks, or is it that we see, is this Bucks team ever going to be a championship team in your opinion?
I'm kind of worried a little bit because I think the window is closing. One more year. If Giannis don't sign the supermax, we're in big trouble. So I feel like if we could just give us one more year and see how we go do next year. So I think we still got a window or opportunity, one more year. It's all depend on Giannis, what Giannis does. Because if Giannis don't sign before the deadline, we're going to have to blow it up. So I feel like next year is a crucial year. So I think I will say yes, but we have to do a lot of adjustment with the coach, as far as, change a few things, just do the pick and roll maybe, and just adapt a little bit. So, and we might have to move a couple pieces like we were talking about earlier in the show. So if we do that, I think we have a chance. As long as we have Giannis, we have a chance.
As long as you have Giannis, you got a chance. Okay. Well, I appreciate all you guys' comments, and those of you at home who've also tuned in and said a little something on the chat line. We appreciate your comments as well. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. I want to give a shout out to Gavin. Gavin, can you let the people know where they can maybe find you? Do you have an IG or anything that they can find you?
Yep. Yeah. My Instagram's The Real Gavatron. It's THAREAL Gavatron. You can find me on there. I manage a bicycle shop out in Salt Lake City. Work for Truck Bicycles. So appreciate you guys having me.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming to join the show, Gavin. Dana, can you let the people know a little bit about yourself and if you have an IG?
Yeah, you can get me on my IG at the number 1 and then DERWAL, so Wonderwall. I am a store manager with Starbucks Coffee Company in the Green Bay area, and a mom of a 7-year-old who keeps me super busy. So that's a lot of my Instagram is coffee and my daughter.
Well, thank you for joining the program, Dana. We appreciate you today. Yeah. And as well, we had David on the line. David, can you let the people know a little bit about yourself as well?
Yeah, just thank you for having me. It was a great show. Hopefully I'll be able to get on there again next time in the future. Thank you. And the rest of the panel. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, David, for joining us as well. We appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. Once again, I'm your boy, Mr. To the Jizzle. You are listening to Radio 22's Talk 22. Please, if you do not have the app, please download it. It's all on all your Android and Apple devices. It's myradio22.com, www.myradio22.com. Please download the app today, and you can catch the Radio 22 radio cast with our show program as well as many more. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Until next time, y'all, I'm your boy, Mr. To the Jizzle. This is Radio 22's Talk 22. Peace.
There you go. Thank you.